everyone, and welcome to this special evening. Purpose. It's a word we hear often, but its true power is something that goes far beyond just a mission statement. Purpose has the ability to not only drive people, but also shape businesses in extraordinary ways. In today's competitive landscape, companies that embrace purpose stand out by symbolizing values and ideals beyond profit. To now start this evening, I'm pleased to welcome Honorable Minister for Food Processing Industries, Shri Chirag Paswan.
Today when I stand here and we talk about sustainability, we talk about Viksit Bharat, we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, ज़रूरी है कि इसके पीछे की जो सोच है उसको हम लोग धरातल पर उतारें। जब हम लोग विकसित भारत की कल्पना करते हैं, सबसे पहले तो खुशी इस बात की होती है कि फाइनली वी हैव अ टारगेट इन फ्रंट ऑफ अस। वी नो दैट बाय 2047 इंडिया विल बी अ डेवलप्ड नेशन। एज अ यंगस्टर couple of years back during my teenage, I used to wonder, looking at all the other developed countries, all the other developed nations, that why my country is not a developed nation. We all travel abroad, and when we go to the other countries, we see their infrastructure, we see their lifestyle, and we used to wonder, I'm sure you all must have wondered too, I used to wonder for sure, that why are we not one of them? And I thank my Prime Minister for giving us this target. And as you just mentioned, during this Amrit Kal, we have to work towards making our country a developed nation. A nation which is self-dependent, we are not dependent on anyone else. एक ऐसा देश जहाँ पे हर सुख सुविधाएं, जिसके लिए संभवतः आज तक हम लोग दूसरे देशों की ओर देखते थे, वो हमें अपने ही देश में हमें मिले। इस दिशा में हम लोग कार्य कर रहे हैं। भले वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का क्षेत्र हो, भले वो कृषि का क्षेत्र हो, भले वो कनेक्टिविटी की बात हो, रेल हो, एयरवेज़ हो, रोड्स हो, शिपिंग हो, हर क्षेत्र में जिस तरीके से आज की तारीख में हम लोग टारगेट ओरिएंटेड होके आगे बढ़ने का कार्य कर रहे हैं। और सबसे ज़्यादा महत्वपूर्ण उसमें आत्मनिर्भरता के साथ मेरे प्रधानमंत्री आदरणीय नरेंद्र मोदी जी की ये सोच है कि हर वो चीज़ जिसका हम लोग आयात करते हैं उसकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हम लोग अपने देश में करना शुरू करें। और धीरे धीरे ये वेन्यूज़ खुल रहे हैं। मेरे पास जिस विभाग की जिम्मेदारी है, अगर मैं फूड प्रोसेसिंग के क्षेत्र की भी अगर मैं बात करूं, आज से 5 साल 10 साल पहले तक शायद फूड प्रोसेसिंग को उतनी गंभीरता से लिया नहीं जाता था। और उसका कारण भी था, हम लोग का लाइफस्टाइल इज़ ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द रीज़न दैट वी नेवर नीडेड टू हैव द कंसेप्ट ऑफ फूड प्रोसेसिंग, बिकॉज गांव के पास हम लोग रहते थे, ताज़ी सब्जियां उखाड़ी खाई, घर पे बनाई, मॉम्स ऑलवेज देयर टू कुक फॉर यू, सिस्टर्स ऑलवेज देयर, यू आर देयर, एक जॉइंट फैमिली में रहते हैं। बट धीरे धीरे विद द कंसेप्ट ऑफ न्यूक्लियर फैमिली कमिंग इन, विद द कंसेप्ट ऑफ वर्किंग कपल्स कमिंग इन, विद द कंसेप्ट ऑफ लाइफस्टाइल गेटिंग चेंज, धीरे धीरे इस सेक्टर ने ग्रो करना शुरू किया। और मैं मानता हूँ आज की तारीख में भारत में वो क्षमता है कि आने वाले दिनों में भारत एक ग्लोबल फूड बास्केट के तौर पर उभर कर आ सकता है। एक ऐसा देश जो कि दुनिया की भूख को मिटा सकता है। ये अबंडेंस है हम लोगों के पास। अब इस अबंडेंस को अपॉर्चुनिटी में हम लोग कैसे कन्वर्ट करें, इस दिशा में हम लोग कार्य करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। अंत में बस इतना ही बोलूँगा कि देश आगे बढ़ रहा है, अपने देश को दुनिया में कैसे सबसे आगे लेकर जाएं, ये हर भारतीय की जिम्मेदारी है। ऐसे में हर वो सकारात्मक प्रतिस्पर्धा, एक पॉजिटिव कंपटीशन, एक दूसरे के साथ पॉजिटिवली compete करते हुए कैसे हम लोग आगे बढ़ें और ना सिर्फ अपने देश को विकसित देश बनाएं, बल्कि दुनिया में भारत कैसे एक अपनी पहचान मजबूत सशक्त देश के तौर पर बनाएं, विकसित देश के तौर पर बनाएं, ये जिम्मेदारी हम सब की है.
It's my privilege to invite a visionary leader to the stage, someone who has enhanced Bislery's reputation as a socially responsible brand, taking bold strides in promoting plastic and water neutrality. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to Mr. Angelo George, CEO of Bislery International, as he shares his insights into ESG strategy in action.
Today, I am going to talk about the other part of the Bislery story, which is about how are we performing as an environmentally responsible brand. We have two challenges, and both are integral to our product: water and the packaging. And before I proceed further, let me reassure you that we were one of the first FMCG companies that were plastic neutral in this country. And not only that, we are also a water positive company, that we recycle more plastic than we put into the market, and we replenish more water than what we take out from the ground. And this is since the last 4 years. As we speak today, we are at about 110% of our plastic recycling. There must be a consumer reason why you find water bottles all over the country, right? I mean, the government statistics indicate that only 47% of the urban households have a tap coming to their house and bringing pure water. And more than half the districts in this country have contaminated groundwater. So there is a reason for water to be available in a packaged form and also affordable. We are neutral to packaging. I'm not a proponent of plastic. We are just concerned that the product in which we pack should be safe, should be affordable, should be scalable because we manufacture in large quantities. And finally, it has to be environmentally sustainable when you take the entire value chain.
To our next topic of discussion, sustainability leadership, empowering the next generation. Please welcome Sanjeev Bikhchandani, co-founder and executive vice chairman in InfoEdge.
Sanjeev, thank you for joining us this evening for a very special edition of Power of Purpose. Let me just begin, Sanjeev, with asking you your thoughts. You heard, of course, at the minister earlier, the future leadership, current leadership, the future of the country. What stood out for you from his speech?
Many things. First of all, he was really speaking extempo. No paper, no teleprompter, just speaking. Okay, I think that was really good. Second, he was bilingual, both Hindi and English, equally comfortable. Third, he made a lot of sense. Right? And he talked about sustainability, he talked about food processing, he talked about the future of these industries and how growth is really important. At the same time, you've got to be doing it in a manner that you're not causing harm to the environment. I think these are the things that stood out for me.
Mm-hmm. That purpose, that direction, of course, in those declarations. Yeah. And given that we are talking about the next generation and empowering the next generation, Sanjeev, let me just ask you, in your interactions with young business leaders today, companies that you're investing in, do you notice anything different in their approach to building businesses today? Do you see a little bit more of a sort of a sustainability consciousness creeping in, or this idea of the new bottom line as well, which is people, planet, purpose, and of course profits. Are you noticing any change in the current crop?
I will. Yes, I am. I think the next gen is actually a lot more conscious of the need to be sustainable than perhaps my generation. I'm 61 years old, and perhaps the generation before me, right? And I see that in my children. My daughter is, 31, and my son is, 27. Mm-hmm. And they and their friends talk a different language on sustainability. So,
Do you understand that language?
I do. Mm-hmm. But you see, they're down to the fact that, hey, I don't really want to own a car. I don't really want to. I'm happy going by an Uber. I'm happy traveling by metro. I don't need to use private transport, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. Right? And that often happens.
Let's head to our next spotlight dialogue on this key topic that's likely to drive enterprises globally. Please welcome Mr. Alok B. Lal, Chief Operating Officer, India and South Asia at Microsoft Corporation, with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Alok, if you can tell us any specific strategies that you have in place to balance out, your growth objectives with your sustainability goals.
Sure, thank you. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of the forum. And we had 3 distinguished luminaries talk about the power of purpose with just true passion. So, it was absolutely amazing to just hear the stories around how they shaped up. At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And if you think about climate change, it's going to be it's truly a defining moment. I often go back to Ernst Hemingway's quote, climate change, to paraphrase that, climate change came gradually and then suddenly.
Tell us, so far, what have been your insights from this journey as a tech player?
Well, first and foremost, it's really hard. To be fair, you fundamentally need to rewire the organization in thinking, acting, and supporting the ecosystem to get to an ambitious or an audacious goal like the one that we're taking towards. First and foremost, for those of you who are familiar in this space, Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3, despite us running data centers and all the other services that we provide, our Scope 3 emissions are 96%. And because it is the case, we will continue to make the effort of what we do within Scope 1 and Scope 2. We've brought it down by almost 18% year over year. But the 96% emission requires us to look at what can our ecosystem do for us. How do we think fundamentally about what can we do as an organization, what can our customers do, and what can we do at a global level.
I'd like to invite our next panelists to discuss policy perspectives on sustainable strategies and innovation.
Let me start a little bit personal. Kids at home, young folks that you interact with, tell me a little bit about, how that maybe impacts you. Jyoti, let me ask you this. You heard Sanjeev, what he said about his kids.
Yeah, a little bit, yes. But I do know that, my own daughter, she's now 29 on her own. But the way these people, kids of this generation think about sustainability. So at one point in time, they didn't know, buying as many clothes or whatever, will have any impact on the Mother Earth. But I think once the consciousness came in, and this was, I think, about once a step out of the teenage, I think this whole consciousness came in, and I'm so surprised that you want your wardrobe to be sustainable. You want every aspect of your life to be sustainable. Using metro is part of your life, so I think this generation thinks very different. They're far more conscious about, the things around them and the whole concept of sustainability in every which way.
Yeah. And how encouraging is that, Hisham, Chandra, Samit, for you to hear that as well, right?
I often say that we run a program called the Climate Core Fellowships Program, which is a master's program. And if you despair about climate change, I often say just hang out with a bunch of Climate Core fellows. They will inspire you and sometimes perspire you as well with their ambition, with their drive, with not just fancy thoughts about how the future should be, but realizing that there is opportunity and applying, mind and hours behind it. So it's great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Chandra?
Yep. While, I agree that the awareness level is high, there's a difference between information and knowledge. And I believe that our kids in urban areas, while they have a lot of information and they understand issues, their knowledge on what is nature, how food is produced, their relationship with nature is something which is lacking, simply because we are teaching them environment in classrooms. Okay, that's not where you learn environment. So while I agree that a lot of things that have been said here, the education that should happen for the next generation, the kind of education that you need to solve climate crisis, is not there, unfortunately. It has to be more to do with how do they relate with nature. Okay, I don't think many kids can do now. And that's a big area of work that needs to be done.
I love that nuance there right at the start between information and knowledge. Samit, your quick thoughts on that. I thought that was a great point made already on the panel.
See, the thing is that I more or less, agree with what all said, and I believe that the next generation are practicing what we wanted to do. I mean, we talk of climate change and thing, and today I came from Gurgaon in a car. I mean, I don't know how much footprint I produced, but I mean, like ma'am said that, I see my son who is 24 now, but, from class 5 onwards taking the metro, not indulging in, say, a Diwali or a Holi. And, these are small things, but at the same time, what CB said about, information, the thing is that they practice it on their own, but I somehow feel that they need to do a bit more. They need to kind of spread it also, right? But the bottom line is that they, at least for me, I mean, like I am put under a lot of pressure by them because of their activities.
We have with us Ruchira Jaitley, the Chief Marketing Officer at Dro India. I'd like to invite Shivani back on the stage to take this conversation forward.
How have you successfully integrated purpose in your core brand strategy?
We are a business that believes in strongly integrating the 3 pillars, what we call the triple win. So there's growth, there's profit, and then there's also climate. And how these 3 things come together to triangulate and make something that's larger, not just for the business, but for every single stakeholder across the value chain, from the average consumer to small towns to places and communities that we operate in, is really the philosophy that we drive our business with. What Shivani was referring to is our Spirit of Progress goals. These were published about, I think, 5 years ago. And this is a 10-year measured goal published against which we put down what we've done well and what we've really not done well at, right? And these Spirit of Progress goals give us set, measured criteria that align to the UN SDGs. And that tells us that we're actually contributing in some way, right? And hopefully in a meaningful way across the globe in delivering to really what has been identified as the biggest priorities for society and for this planet to really move forward. This is something that has been empowered by 2 strong pillars. The first one is about, like I said, sustainability by design. It doesn't happen by accident. The second one is to remember that you are part of a larger village and an ecosystem. So there's nothing you can do if you don't have the right partnerships and the right ecosystem.
So what are some of the challenges when it comes to embedding purpose, in your organization? What are the challenges you face? What were the learnings there?
I think I'd say learnings, and I think there are always more opportunities for us. So don't get me wrong, it's not like we've got it all, nailed. The first one is, like I said, design. You've got to design for sustainability, you've got to design for purpose. When I write an ad film, I design for purpose. The second one is measurable goals. So our Spirit of Progress 2030 goals talk about water conservation, they talk about renewable energy and sustainability and carbon reduction, packaging sustainability, DE&I goals, right? So we're at about 27%, I think, nationally on the number of women. We want to take it to 33. 50% of our leadership is women.
Thank you, Ruchira. Thanks for those wonderful and incredible insights and giving us some food for thought on sustainability and purpose and how to embed it with your brands.
Solar energy is abundant, sustainable, and renewable. One man is pulling out all stops to achieve the nation's net zero goals by 2070. Meet Professor Chetan Singh Solanki, whose small acts are indeed making a big nationwide impact. I would like to welcome him onto the stage.
After 11 years, what is the possible outcome of your yatra that you want to achieve, that you desire, that's your mission, your goal?
Well, in simple, I want to change the world, the manner it is, consuming energy and generating energy. But to summarize, I keep saying that we have to move away from the wrong energy, that is a carbon-based energy, to the right energy, that is clean energy, but in the right way. And the right way is AMG way, and at the right time. Let us not forget that time is of very essence, because the climate change is an irreversible process. You can't just wish that, okay, when you're ready, then you will talk about the climate change. No, it's an irreversible process. So we have to go away from wrong energy to the right energy, the solar energy. And we have to go to solar energy 100%. 99% will also not work. You know why? Because as I said, life of carbon is 300 years. So you have to go to 100%. But in the AMG manner, avoid, minimize, and generate manner, that you can't achieve by putting, thousands of megawatts of plants. What you need to do is generate it locally, as much as possible. So my yatra is called Energy Swaraj Yatra. So making and running our lives 100% on renewable energy locally is what the power, and that is what going to solve the problem.
Let's take a closer look at this with our next discussion, powering long-term sustainability and new bottom line, people, planet, and profits. How do you see the current scenario, the changing times that we find ourselves in, and most importantly, what, according to you, are the critical steps that businesses and governments need to take in order to lead a more sustainable life going forward?
Throughout the years that I've worked, most of my work has been in and around talking about perspective of young people, how we see the world, how we see, what's been going on with, different sectors and everything. And being somebody who started at, at an age of 9, I believe it was never a choice for me. I mean, I was cautious about environment. My parents worked in the same field. I knew, okay, you have to respect it, you have to conserve, and you have to be responsible. But it was not a choice, to be an activist. Saw the floods, felt it, was, I struggled with nightmares and, had this fear of dying someday because of a natural disaster, seeing a world where nobody cares about. I mean, that's what we feel as young people, seeing a world and living in a world where nobody cares about your generation, and things more or less everybody seeks their profit in anything.
Tell us a little bit about, the integration of sustainability into business model and how that's influenced different aspects of business in terms of profitability, consumer behavior, so on and so forth. How difficult or easy has that been, and what has the impact been like?
Coming to the Gaudish perspective, we've been at it for about 2 decades now in terms of integrating sustainability into our business. And what started off as perhaps a good to do sort of initiative has literally become front and center of our business strategy. And I'll be honest with you, companies that aren't doing that right now are already late to the party, because it's not about doing the right thing, it's about survival. And I mean, so many great speakers spoke today, and we spoke so much about the impact that individuals and organizations and corporates have on the planet. But one thing that we've not really spoken about is resilience. And how do we adapt to a changing climate? How are businesses equipped to do this? There were some really interesting points that resonated in the earlier panels, one of which was about the investors as well. And, it's sad that even today, one of the first questions I keep getting asked is there a trade-off between profitability and sustainability? Every single financial index in the world is telling you it's exactly the opposite. You look at the Dow Jones Sustainable Index, you look at the MSCI. Companies that are strong on sustainability outperform, on a pure financial perspective, other companies.
Saurabh, tell us about how you're leading the charge in terms of recycling. It comes with its own set of challenges, isn't it?
We've been recycling plastics for the past 2 decades, and we recognize the fact that while recycling has its own benefits, the ultimate goal to achieve sustainability is to reduce plastic consumption overall. But we need to also look at the alternatives we have to plastic. So basically we do have 2 approaches to it. The conventional approach is to go towards other materials such as aluminium, glass, or paper for that matter. But I'd like to remove a myth here that these materials are more, looking at the first approach, these materials, aluminium, paper, and metal, are more sustainable than plastic.
Amar, from plastic, I want to talk about fashion. And that's a huge shift. But sustainable fashion is also a risk that many are now taking. Tell us how that's playing out and how are consumers behaving or reacting to this concept?
Okay. There is a huge gap between life on social and life in society when it comes to choosing sustainable fashion. I would not say that we are there yet. But at the same time, a consumer cannot be blamed for their choices as well, because sustainability in fashion has been a namesake effort. And like Professor Solanki said, the definition of sustainability has not been complete and has been used to the advantage of the industry. A simple example is it has been told over and over that polyester is bad and cotton is good as sustainable fashion. If we just talk about the usage of resources, like cotton is nowhere good in terms of the water usage, pesticides, soil erosion, all kinds of things. But I'm not saying polyester is the way to go, recycle polyester. In fact, our journey has only been 7 months, and we have already repurposed 100,000 plastic bottles. We made it a mission that we will not touch virgin plastic. But the silver lining here when it comes to consumer behavior is, especially with Gen Zs, there's a lot of chatter happening. So the awareness is very, very high.
Let's now deep dive into the specific pillars and their implications in our next topic of discussion, making sustainability the foundation of modern business. Please welcome Rohit Kapoor, CEO, Food Marketplace Swiggy, and I'd like to invite Shibani back onto the stage for taking this conversation forward.
Straight off the bat, first question, Swiggy's upcoming IPO, how has it changed your approach towards sustainability?
It hasn't actually. I think it's whether you are a private company or a public company, it doesn't matter today. Because for a simple reason that we don't look at sustainability purely from a lens of compliance. If that was the case, of course it matters when you're public and you're seeking a certain kind of investors. But today our consumer, our society, people we interact with, employees, everybody has a very clear bar on what they expect the company to do. And I think that is far more scrutiny and pressure from a public market facing debut.
You know, if you look around us, we are engulfed with everything fast. Fast fashion, fast food, 10-minute delivery, everything, is fast. We want it quickly. Having said that, coming from Swiggy, how do you approach, this fast, keeping sustainability in mind?
Actually, if there is one thing which is quite aligned to sustainability is fast delivery. Let me explain. When we look at our footprint of what we can influence or impact, the biggest probably will be, and the study is still on, so I don't have exact data, but the biggest is likely to be emissions, right? Or just the number of kilometers on the road and what kind of vehicle you're using. The fast delivery happens not because of speed. It happens because the point of supply comes closest to your point of residence, or you're getting supply, whether it's quick commerce or Bolt now, which we just launched on food, where we are actually supplying from a Starbucks, from Rameshwaram Cafe, from 10 all kinds of brands. It is within 2 kilometers. And that allows EVs to operate today very well. Because a EV two-wheeler has you can put like battery at your pods and locations. So I think it is actually more aligned to sustainability.
Having said that, sustainability is also driven by both corporate and individuals. How is it closer to you at heart?
For me, I think my wife is an environmentalist. She's a horticultural and a landscaper. She's been at it for like 15 years. So I'm homeschooled on this one. And if you consider also just caring for a wider ecosystem, I have 10 pets at home. I have 1,000 plants. We run a plant crash at home, which simply means that If you are, let's say, going abroad and you don't know what to do with the plants, and a lot of people they die. So we pick them up free of cost and we keep them. And when you come back, we'll give it to you. Or you have a plant or a tree which you can't manage or you're dying, we actually pick it up and keep it. So it's very much at home. My home, if you ever come in Gurgaon, if you're the way we have built it is that from any window or any door, you will see nothing but a green.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure was all mine.
The government does an amazing job with TOP scheme, and they're doing an amazing job with Khelo India. But we need more private bodies to come in and help the government on the grassroots level, where the 8 to 18-year-olds, that's where we need help. Because, all the other countries in the world, by the time you're 16, 17, 18, you have been competing for like a decade. Today, we have a clean roadmap for 2036. Hopefully, our PM will be able to drive 2036 to India, the Olympics, and 2030 Youth Olympics. I think this is a fantastic time for India to finally achieve its sports potential.
I think what Max Life Insurance has been able to do, again, for the kind of purpose approach that we have, is to be able to ensure that ESG as a conversation is anchored in almost every parts of our business. You look at first, an important conversation under ESG is this entire piece of diversity, equity and inclusion. Now again, if you look at the kind of workforce that we have, we are again industry best, in fact almost industry best in terms of having diversity ratios when it comes to male is to female. When you look at our progressive people policies as an employer, again to be able to ensure that we are doing a good amount of justice to various diverse pools that we have in our workforce. You look at Max Life's participation in the various CSR activities that we undertake, i.e. tree plantation, water conservation, we are right out there. Interestingly, what we've also been able to do is that we've been able to extend this entire ESG conversation, which is again anchored in this entire piece of people, planet and profits, even in our products that we are trying to launch off late. So fundamentally, I believe going back to our purpose, inspiring people to increase the value of their lives, I think ESG is a very logical extension, A, as a conversation, and B, for the brand to embrace it. And like we say, all of this eventually would come down to one word. And that's what Max Life's purpose would actually stand for. That's called Bharosa. Inspiring people to increase the value of their lives, or Bharosa, is what we leave behind for all parts of our stakeholder ecosystem.